Actually, I was looking for pictures because obviously I grabbed somebody else's watercolors and stuck them in here. But they had no, what we call sky holes or something coming through. It was just this mess. So for trees, I probably would use, my round brush the most, unless you have a large foliage area. Yeah, I say foliage like a New Englander. So I first started working here, Pam used to kind of laugh at me because I would say drawing. And she says drawing. So now I just try to say drawing. So, I just try to say it correctly. But I don't have too much of a New England accent, but every now and then. My mother doesn't think she does. She has her master's in education, but when she says modern art, it comes out modern art. But how you get those habits and they just stick with you for your life. A lot of trees. I'll show you. You have this one, yes? Okay. Are keeping a loose touch on the brush. The more we tighten up, the tighter they're going to become. And anything that you want to be natural, you want it looser. And, if you choke up on, like on a bat or something, you're choking up on that, it's going to make it tighter. By going back further, you're looser. And we did a little bit last week, right? Mm-hmm. So I start and I go up kind of where the trunk is, and I kind of build a tree off from that. The upper branches, like on a fir tree, they reach up to the sky. They're light, they're not big. As you go out, the branches head to the side, but the tips are always still just slightly reaching up to the sky. And then as they get heavy, they go down at the base, and the tips will still kind of come up a little bit. And you can see on these examples, it's thicker. There's more darkness in the center of the tree because has more leaves and things that are blocking the sun from getting through. And you can I like this one because you can keep changing the color. All of these trees keep changing the color. It's just not all green all the way through. So one of the first things we'll do, is start with the center. No, we're going to mix up some color. So we get some color in puddles on our palette. So it's going to be there when we're ready to use it. And you want a good amount. I'm sorry for those that don't have the good amount of palettes. See, now I only have one water tub. I'm going to run into trouble here. I have to change my water a lot. Any of the blues, I'm going to go with a cobalt, kind of a middle blue for my dark. And then I'm going to pick up some burnt umber, the dark brown. Because those are good colors to start with for a tree.
What was the first color?
The green one was a viridian green. I have some here, and my sap green is getting down. But either of the greens, I'll probably end up using both of them and use the spring green or the sap green at the end for some highlights. Drop it in. Yeah, because see that viridian green is so, I don't know. It's not the kind of green I want. I'm going to add some yellow ochre near it just so it's there to use.
You mind if I stand here?
No. So, yeah, they're over here. I'm going to start with some of the brown and blue, a little touch of the green, and then I'm just going to start with the trunk coming up. I break it up a little bit so it's not just a straight trunk going all the way up, because this is a growing tree and it has gone through different stages. I know there's a lot of, so you want it broken and kind of scraggly in my set. There's a lot of paint or water in my brush right now, and I don't want that because up at the tip top, I just tapped it off a little bit. I want a fairly small tip. No, see, it's pretty fat. So the first I'm just thinking, okay, these are reaching up. Now, the branches aren't only going this way, they're also going this way and down this way. So that's a lot of perspective, which you don't know. But if you think of an arm, the arm's this way. But what does it look like when it's coming toward you? So every now and then I'll think, okay, this one's going to kind of come toward me. See, and I'm not really controlling this. I'm just kind of going, like I have too much coffee, which I didn't this morning, actually. Leave some light shining through. When you feel your brush getting out of paint, getting a little thin, just go pick up some more.
Those colors are blue and gray.
Burnt umber.
Oh, burnt umber.
Yeah. The burnt umber and the blue make wonderful grays. Now I'm going to pick up some of the green with the yellow ochre in it and kind of drop that in some areas that I'm just dropping it in spots where maybe it will feel like it's catching the light. And what do I want to do? Oh, I want a little, like some shadow underneath it because you need it sitting down on the ground. And again, it kind of breaks up because there's spots on the ground where the shadow is that light still penetrates through the tree down to the ground. And if that feels a little too blue, you can always add a little burnt sienna, maybe some of the brick color or something, just while it's still wet, drop it in. On the videos with the, like looking in the light to get the wetness and stuff, was that a helpful video?
Mm-hmm.
Did that? Okay. It's the first time I've kind of done that. Usually I'm just doing it like this, but then I realized you have to be at an angle to see that. So that's kind of fun. You can do that. You can also, if you want more texture in the tree, grab whatever you have at hand, like a piece of paper towel, and just blot like once on each spot to add a little texture in there. If it is further in the distance, as we mentioned last week, you're going to want it to be a lighter blue. So I'm grabbing some of the cerulean now. I'll pretend there's a tree off in the background. Lighter and softer and bluer. And I'm trying not to disturb that other, but a little bit's okay. Now, if you're going to do something like this in a painting, you probably would have put in a general background to begin with. You know, big wash in the background, let it dry, and then come back in with the trees when it's dry. Emily asked a great question too about, remember we were doing the skies last week, and the yellow and then the blue, and it's hard to not get green. Try to do a light yellow wash where you're going to have the most yellow, like around the sunny area. Let it dry totally. Let me see if I can do this somewhat quickly. But see, it's not going to have a chance to dry totally. A nice loose wash. And then once that is dry or fairly dry, a great trick is to have a transition color. So what's kind of between yellow and blue? Well, green, but we don't want green. So we're going to head the other direction and pick up a little pink, because yellow goes into pink quite nicely, or a reddish or something. Letting that blend.
Where'd that pink come from?
The pink?
Yeah,
Over here.
I know, but what's the mix?
I don't know. I grabbed one of these.
Oh,
Kind of an
straight?
alizarin kind of. I brought it here and I mixed
Yeah.
it with more water so it's fairly thin,
Oh.
and then I brought it over.
Okay.
And then because pink and or red and purple, blue kind of go together, then you can bring in a blue that will, and that will blend a little bit with the pink and create kind of a purple. So you have a more gradual transition. If I wanted to do some dark clouds over this area, I would wait for that to totally dry and I could bring in some darker blue at that point.
Hold up what you did and then point out what you
Yeah, I'm also
Dan, you can spray.
doing the video. but I started with the yellow, kind of the pink, let that blend in there. But see, the yellow's not really gonna blend with the blue at this point. I might wait for the yellow to dry even more.
Mm-hmm.
But now look, by tilting this, I'm getting this almost like a little storm cloud or something coming down in
Yes.
this area.
Yeah.
And when little happy accidents like that happen, just let it go. Sometimes you get some of the best things that way. You can also take a paper towel and blot up a cloud across there if you want. So this is really quick, but see the little, I just blotted it to get some clouds. Just some little subtle clouds.
Yes.
Did I get any green in mine? I think I'm okay. But yeah, oh, very nice. I'm looking at your trees, I know. I didn't mean to jump around, but I did.
That's a good thing.
So how are the trees? You comfortable with those? Learning little brush strokes and things, keeping them irregular? Very nice. Oh, really nice.
Yeah.
See how that brown and green work together?
Yes,
Really,
yes.
really nicely. Try not to dip. You're not drawing individual leaves, you're drawing masses of leaves.
Okay.
Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
A couple of dots for little leaves off on the end work. So I gave you a variety of pictures of trees for the, looks like a maple tree, who knows? I probably would start with the leaves first, and then you can tell where the branches are coming off. If you start a tree and you draw the whole trunk and the branches, you know, in watercolor especially, you're not going to get rid of those lines. So you want to put those in after.
Put what in? You were standing in
line.
front of that.
I am so
I
sorry.
can't see what you're doing.
Just lines it like a trunk of a tree and the branches.
So I should,
If you paint those all in first, you're going to have lines all the way through all of this, all of that aspect. And you don't want that. So it's better to put the masses of leaves on first
then
and
draw
then
the lines.
draw the trunks in. And think about where is it peeking out? Where are the leaves covering it? So it's a lost and found trunk and branches.
so you shouldn't do the whole trunk first?
I wouldn't. I mean, if you wanted to do the base of it, that's okay. That's just, if you want to do the base of it to indicate where it is. I don't like the trunk on this one at all.
And this painting, there are no branches or lines on the top, but on this one there is. There's still the lines.
Yeah, he kind of added to, but not really. You're right.
This
See,
one
it comes through.
Yeah, but isn't that a good thing?
Yes. But if he had drawn this trunk and
Oh.
all of this all the way through, you would not have, see how they're lost in these areas? Where on this tree, which, you know, Andy's jumping ahead, but that's okay. Not really. No, it's a good emphasis. You can see that there's areas in the painting where you don't see the branches because they're behind the leaves. So that's why if you draw them in after, you can do that. What?
I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, no.
That's pretty funny.
All right, I'm gonna start with a light green on this one, kind of up. Now these are different. This is not the little branches like a fir tree reaching out. It's more masses of leaves. And you want,
Which one are you doing?
I'm doing this one right now.
Okay.
You want kind of masses of leaves, and you want spots where the sky is showing through. So I'm kind of just, you know, thinking they're all kind of going out different directions as well. And if you can see toward this part of the tree, I'm adding more dark areas because that's where the shadows, you know, if I've got the light coming from here on this tree, the light's coming this way. You have the lighter, like a ball.
Yeah.
So it's lighter up near. And then at the edges, you want to define it a little better. But this brush, you can press it down. You can get some nice textures. And then before you put the rest of the branches in, you want it to dry because you want those to have nice, clean, sharp edges on them. Nice, nice. And I know we are going quickly. My intent is to give you as much as I can while I'm here, because then you can practice after, and I'll do the refresher videos, and I think that will help more after. I want to add texture to this. I'm going to blot. Remember that watercolor tends to dry about a third lighter than what you put it down. Have I said that before? Right? It will lighten as it goes. Because the water, when the water is there, it's refracting the light better, and it's bringing it to our eyes better. Once it dries, it's lying more flat on the paper. That tall, thin tree is very similar in its construction to the little fat one. That didn't come out very well. I don't care. Let's see. Oh, here's a thought too. You could also lightly spray ahead of time to get a more natural feel as you're putting down the paint. It should work. I'm not seeing it pick up
What's
anything.
the technique that you're using to get the kind of edges around this tree?
I'm just turning my brush and thinking,
Okay. Yeah, this little dotted, very light,
Yep.
very.
you can see his little lines are kind of, you mean the lighter areas,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Going
mhm.
out like that. So you just think, okay, this branch is reaching this way. As it goes around that, they're going in different directions.
Okay.
So you want your brush following those directions. I'm looking at this upside down. I'm trying to do it this way. Best of luck on that one. I'm not copying, I'm just kind of using it as a guide. That's what I do with a lot of photos, is use them as guide, not try to copy it.
Yes, no one's ever going to see the photo. This is my thought.
Is it right?
No one's ever going to see the photo.
Don't show them the photo. Just
I'll do that when I'm doing a strong demo. I go from the photo or location and I do sketches. I always do sketches, almost always first. Very rarely do I go right into the painting. And then I put the photo away and use the sketch to go off from, because that's going to keep me more expressive as well.
But don't you need the photo to see the colors?
To a point, but you can invent colors too. I've got a couple videos on that. I've taken a black and white, and then you just choose any colors you want. You can have fun with that. This paper's not working for me.
I've got the photo, I want to reproduce the photo.
I know.
And that's what happens. So many people, they get a photo out and you just copy it, and then you're just copying it, not really self-expressing. Yeah. Did that come out right? Is that the word, self-expressing?
So this bottom right tree, it looks almost like if you painted water on it and then you put the darker color and let it bleed.
Yep,
That's what it looks like to me.
that would work really well.
Okay.
Mine got too wet in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, actually, that kind of worked.
And the spray works
That worked.
too, right?
Yeah. So I sprayed a little bit after. This looks like it's going to make a puddle. So you kind of watch it. When you put a lot of water, you want to keep an eye. I'm just going to blot the wet area of that to kind of lift it a little bit. But don't blot, because the more you do that, it'll just blot all over and you'll get nothing. Oh, it's cooler. How are we doing? Nice, nice. You're doing great. These are great. And eventually, oh, very nice. Yes. You're going to want to get, yeah, because you're getting his shading area in there. And then he's got these leaves from behind.
Yes,
Nice.
yeah.
Yep, I was saying something totally forgot. Oh, nice. And again here, see how this trunk is solid? If you saw the tree, it wouldn't happen that way.
Right, I understand now, just when you said draw your trunk.
Yeah, when I did that, when you see the video.
feel that?
Can
No,
I just take a look?
Yeah, sure.
You don't want
my
that.
bike, I was on my bike in a
Here, I
parking
just
lot,
let it
and I
cover
put my
up.
foot in, but I leaned too far,
So it
and
kinda
then so
is.
when I fell, I put my hand down like that, so.
Yeah, I have a very hard time seeing between the coffee cup.
I know, and I'm sorry, and I'm trying to make the
Camera, I
video.
can't see.
Because this is not ideal, but by making the video, you can go back and, no. You can always come up and stand it too.
I tried, I couldn't see what you were doing, because you picked it up and showed it.
I'm
So, well.
Either way, you lose.
trying to please everybody.
Green when I did that.
Yeah.
And I was like, of course, blue and yellow does make green, and I was trying, I was really trying.
Oh my gosh.
And then when it's dry enough, then you can add in some branches through the peak holes in the tree. And think the branch. I mean, don't just randomly put them in there. This tree trunk is coming up through. Where would it peek out? So it's too fat. I don't like that at all. Mm.
That's a learning thing in itself. She goes, well, it's gonna be love to see me come this week again.
I have no idea what's built on that paper, so.
So I like the idea of like a class, a come in, work yourself, like midweek between when we learn something and then come back to the class again, and so we can practice what we learned and
ask
look at
specific
it.
questions,
Yeah.
clarifying questions.
Yeah, I'm sitting here doing this,
Yeah.
going, oh, yeah, I could.
Trees are excellent.
Oh,
use a
really?
little bit more.
And she's just coming up with that idea, so to how it's gonna work out, we don't know. This is way too wet to do
Yeah, some of
anything
the
more.
Studios in like the River Arts District offer that.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like $30.
That looks
3 hours.
fairly
It's-
easy.
It's totally on
Well,
point.
you could work on that eye.
Yeah, that's really.
Or else do it now. I'm in charge, do it now.
During.
Because a painter group is nice, but if you need instruction.
Yeah,
Oh, good. Isn't that the worst feeling?
and in a 4-week class, it's very tricky, you know. I try to present ideas and then
Oh, my God.
enough you can go home and work. And some people, I mean, the plastic, your thoughts, you see that's too wet. I can't even do anything with it right now.
That was sinking.
So I make it wetter.
Ran back to that little cafe. Don't you know somebody just brought it up?
Isn't that horrible?
And it was, restore your faith in humanity.
Really, truly. That helped. Oh, golly, that's.
We could also
I
use
just know that
plastic on it.
feeling.
I wonder what would happen.
I could call upon.
But that doesn't
it.
follow my
I
assignment.
lost winter
People would.
coats in the middle of winter. How I did that, I don't know. When I was young.
Oh, you were young and foolish, you didn't need a coat, right?
So this stuff,
That's
Actually,
really
I've
dark.
done studies on how to get purple don't coats.
Oh, really?
There is
It's
a
almost all
biological
one color.
reason.
And what is
If you draw
I don't
some
know, I
blue
just saw
and some
the
brown
headline, I
and
didn't
dark
read the
green,
article.
and near the
Like
trunk.
babies
Okay,
get
overheated
overheated
now.
faster.
It
They
depends on
say.
how it
Yeah,
is.
I guess it has something to do with metabolism.
Yeah, do a couple wet spots, go ahead.
The quantity of muscle,
Yeah.
you know, that.
It's a blue or a blue brown or something. Quality of muscle.
So, these
Quantity of.
small branches. Right, they're
Quantity of
too
other
wiggly. The first they were too straight.
And look at the, oh, the
At
branches.
first they were
yeah.
too straight, then they're too wiggly. And
And that's a lot of brushstroke as you practice that. Notice also these
Yeah, I've
branches,
missed
these
with
leaves
two
are kind of like
So you
hanging
went
down
to
as you get
college?
toward the bottom, see them?
yes.
Oh, art
I went back
Yeah.
to school with 50 and took art
Yeah.
history.
And again, vary the color, add some blue, add some
I
yellow,
went
add some little brown
in
maybe.
Charlotte
Oh,
in CPCC
All of it.
community college.
I did
Yeah,
yeah.
and I also took a
great for
art class in just.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know,
Actually, here's one of the things we did in that class, is put paint on water and,
Yeah, and irregular.
you use.
And that's watercolor.
Mm-hmm,
Wow, look at that. You kind of built it up.
mm-hmm,
Wow.
so
In that one spot.
it's got a sticky place on it.
So what did you,
Pick it up a little bit.
That was a college class I took on just different ways to
Just a little broken up.
use paint. But I really like it, and I had some with turquoise in it that I did. Actually, well, I'll probably never see you guys again, but I have the instructions how to do it. Well, you can look it up, I don't know what it's called, but it's.
Okay, this is very
I
wet.
noticed you have a folder, I've got so many folders.
I thought to share the history and the progression of how I've improved.
Well, it keeps you from having to remember all this stuff too, that's why I use them.
When you do trunks, do look at the base of trunks, unless they've been surrounded by mulch or something. They come down and they have to reach out at kind of an angle to sink their roots into the ground. Because if you look at a tree, well, you can't see it, but at ground level, it does the opposite that it does above. It goes down and then it spreads out. As the branches spread out above, the roots spread out below.
Oh.
That's too wet. That's not gonna work.
Gee, I think when you start painting, you look at the world in a different,
You really start looking at things.
you really, you closer and you notice.
I remember one time, for second year in college, and I was walking back from the art building to my dorm, and I started counting how many different types of green I saw. I don't know if it, yeah.
It's infinite.
It is infinite, but I get up to like 30 something. I thought, I must be repeating at this point. I hadn't,
Especially in the springtime.
but it makes you observant. Oh, yeah.
And they say the eye can't even see all the colors that there are.
Is that a mag? Yeah.
there's a tree, I don't know what kind of bushes, there's some kind of tree that get, it's like lime. Dayglow.
Wow.
Chartreuse
I don't know,
kind of,
it's-
yeah.
No, it's like spruce or something, I don't know what it is, but it's unbelievable.
Where is that?
It's just on my street,
Mm.
yeah, they're just at the end of the sidewalk, where the sidewalk to the house meets the sidewalk to the street.
Andy, I was heading back to Pam's house last week after this class, and you were walking your dog. I said, gosh, that looks like Andy. Can't be Andy. By the time I realized it was you, I was like, you got home quickly. Of course, I have to pack up, but
Yeah.
Let me share something with you. If you can't sleep at night,
I felt bad because
you can go through the alphabet and name all the greens you can think to start with A, B, C. That'll put you to sleep real fast.
that's it. That's a
Actually, I'm on potatoes right now. There's all
different types of
kinds
potatoes, really? Yeah, there's in South America. There's 400 different types, and that's where they come from.
Yes.
I'll have to look that up.
I don't know. Corn and potato, and I used to know which one was which, but one is well over 200, 250 types of either corn or potato, and the other one is well over 400 types. And when you go down there to the open air markets, they have piles of all these different types of potatoes.
Can you do so tonight when you can't sleep? You can name all the potatoes.
I always sleep. I know, that's my problem. My poor daughters are so upset. What do you mean you're sleeping? I said, I go to sleep and I sleep. And
Good for
I
you.
know.
You don't have to.
Sorry, I shouldn't admit that.
No, it's okay.
It's great for me, but people, huh?
Once a week, I just I cannot get myself to sleep.
Once a week you can't?
With like once a week, yeah, there's no,
I
I
don't know, I'm just
cannot figure
playing.
out what it is that I'm doing that's like, either something too late
Yeah, I like
or.
that too, yeah.
Yeah,
What, this?
The blue ground is
And I
nice,
just threw
nice
some blue
touch.
and bled it with the
And there's a little bit of purple in there, maybe.
no, no.
There's a little bit of orange purple I can see by the. Yeah.
I didn't put any there, I didn't figure.
I know, I am making a quilt sandwich. Sorry.
I'm taking a picture away.
That's all right. Quilt sandwich.
Oh, you
Color, and I couldn't.
know. Kind of salt, nice.
You know, and
I wonder if she did any
wash, yeah.
I did those rocks for the video the other day and I thought, got done with them and I'm like, that's just awful. Thank God it's just a demo. And then I went back and I'm like, they're not so bad. Sometimes you gotta give yourself a little space and time.
And I'm like, elbowing my husband, look at this, and he's got a podcast.
How are we doing on time? Again, my clock is.
10:59.
Okay.
11.
I'll try to do a little demo of this one on a video, if you'd like. Okay, I mean, it's not flowers, but you can use different colors. You could use the same idea. Use different colors, spring colors, and then drop flowers in. What the other thing I'd like to do this morning, while you're playing, is this one. This is down here at Elk Mountain, the on-ramp. And it looks like a Monet painting.
I saw it this morning.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
And if you're coming up 26 this morning, it was backlit. And those poppies, and I'm just, but I was like others, you know, I'm like, well, I can't pull over right here. But one of these mornings I might do that. Of course, by the time I get back, they'll be gone. I'm leaving Sunday, but I'm surprised. They've been there 3 weeks now. Yeah. The picture,
So how do we do these?
the picture at the bottom is showing you water. And you can see it's very rough. I'm not, the trees to me are very spotty, but this is for showing water and how you leave a lot of white. And to get that sparkle, he's probably using a rougher paper and just taking an almost dry brush. Dry brush means there's not much water in your brush, but there's paint on it, and you just kind of drag it across that, and it should skip across the top of a rougher paper.
And how about spraying with water or salt?
Spraying will create more of this. The salt might work.
I see. Okay.
So if you put in something wet and you sprayed it, you get that very soft, blended look.
Okay.
That looks like it's.
And with sparkling water, you need to leave white somehow.
Got it.
But for right now, I'm going to try the Monet flowers. I call them Monet because he's done a very famous painting almost exactly. And I think whoever planted this field knew that. And this is going to be I'll try to do two because I need water. Yeah, and this faucet's really noisy.
So would you ever use the glue stuff that's in the little jar?
The resist, yes, you could use that and dot it irregularly on your
Yes,
paper.
yeah.
Design your paper, make it like a nice, for the red, maybe a nice little S curve through it. So what I'm talking there is on the, like the Monet flowers, so the trees. Pam, you need a new expo marker. Okay.
Okay, now.
I'm not even looking at this. Okay.
I'm stuck over here, so I can't help you, but.
No, I'm just talking. Look at these trees. These are like, I don't know what they are. Dr. Seuss trees. So the tree line coming down, now you know how to do trees better than this, but you know. And then the field is coming at us. I would exaggerate, like here's the top back of the field, it kind of comes down through, and I want to make it really feel like it's expanding out. And then even though the red poppies are dotted through the field, I just look at you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Design it still. You're making a painting. So if it's coming down here, maybe it's kind of an S curve down of, you know, the red dots. So they're there and they're irregular because it's nature, but they're generally following maybe an S curve of this. And as you come forward, maybe the bigger ones are down here. So you've got a bit of a design to draw the viewer's eye up and into that. You want to kind of make them feel like, oh, what's going to happen when I go behind that tree? So, you know, they're coming up through and they're being pulled into that. Oh, look, red dots. They're flowers.
I'll just draw a picture and copy it, just so I'll have some.
Green trees. And this is all, that's the blue purple, right? Notice the difference in the, I'm sorry, the difference in the color of the sky as opposed to the color of the blue in the flowers on the ground. How would you, what would be a big difference in your approach to color on those?
I see some purple in those flowers.
Yes.
Right?
Periwinkle.
Darker. So I would go with our ultramarine blue, which is our more on the purple side of blue, and then probably the cerulean and a very thin for the sky. Now to do the sky and the clouds and the trees and the flowers and the bees.
And birds.
That's right. It's amazing how things like our minds make these synapses that just pull ideas together. I'm like, how do I relate that thing to that over there? Anyway, to do all of that, I would probably not do much with the clouds. You need a resting area in your painting. So I might just do a soft wash in the background of the sky, bring some of the trees in, mass most of the trees kind of together, glue them back a little bit, and pull out maybe one or two of those fir trees. I mean, I've been thinking about this already because I want to do this in a pastel. And then come down through. For the flowers, the further you get back, it lays flatter the further you get back. And as it comes forward, it starts coming, you're looking more down on it. So you're going to see they're going to be bigger and they're going to be more this way.
So how do you get the technique of the blue and the green and the?
That's what I'm thinking right now. I'm going to try this.
Excuse me, did you say ultramarine blue?
For the flowers in the foreground. But we're going to start at the top and come down. I'm going to come down through. I'm going to do half a painting here. I mean, if you want to watch, I'm saying I don't know what I'm doing, but I kind of do because I've been doing this for a few decades. I know.
Why are we here?
I don't know. I'm just going to play with it. So for the sky, I think I'll start because I want that soft. And I want, if you want to do this, you can kind of design where you're going. I am going to...
If you get on the inside so you can see, I can stand right here.
Design here. I think these trees are going to go over, but so that area that I want them to go back to, I don't want the line right in the middle of the paper as it is on here. I'm going to push it up a little bit higher. That's where the trees meet the flowers.
You hardly ever do anything in the middle, do you?
No, and I didn't talk about this, but there's the rule of thirds. That is a good thing to start with. If you take any shape paper, and you divide each side in thirds, Okay, and this one's gonna look different because it's in thirds. See?
Where's the teacher?
Where two of those lines intersect, any spot of any two of those lines, that is a good idea for a location of your center of interest.
Oh,
And then sometimes you can have a secondary one, but you need one spot. So this, I'm gonna have some fir trees over here, kind of the rough background here. This field is gonna come down around this way. So I'm designing, and then there's an S curve going in there, kind of a S curve, as I said here. But this is kind of gonna be where I want light and contrast and the eye to be drawn back there. Did you love how beautiful that is? Can you see where it's
makes
going?
sense, so much sense. It's so helpful for us.
Good. That's composition. And that's another whole, 10-week project, but that's okay. I think you're getting a feel to see if you want to continue pursuing doing stuff. So for you, if you want to say, okay, there's a third, so that's where I want that tree line to be, and I want the eye to come back there. I want this up higher. So that's all I do, very rough drawing. I'm going to generally dampen the back where I'm going to put in the sky. I'm going to add in some, nope. Emily, guess what happened on my palette?
No, he's going over the area, like, you'll paint, you can let the trees gonna be and just put the tree
I'm
on
going
top
to
of.
do, yes, so I'm going to do a very light wash of kind of that light blue in the background. Yellow would work nice on it too, because that would make it feel sunny. But we have to choose one, pretty much. I'm going to do a light cerulean wash in the background. I'm going to use my large brush. I don't want it heavy paint because I want it to have a contrast for the foreground. And I'm trying to do it fairly light because I need it to dry rather quickly. And it's not going to be exactly at the edge of trees because you want the trees to grow into it. It's going to be sparkling a little bit behind the trees. That is so light. I might add a little bit more. Now what I'm doing is I've turned this brush side. At first I did a wash, big wash back and forth of this brush. Now I'm turning it up and down and I'm kind of touching. So that's going to pull, because it's still wet here, it's going to pull some of that paint down and start indicating where some trees might be, space between the trees. The next further back trees, a little bit on the blue side, because they're in the distance. I'm going to add a little cerulean to those. Green, blue. I'm thinking edge of the field here, that is not dark. And I'm not following the photo exactly, I'm just getting a feel of it. I need more blue. So hopefully by kind of dragging that up in to the sky area, it'll give me some irregularity and some bleeding spots where it kind of blossoms. I can tell already this paper is not going to do what I want it to do. Do you ever notice that? And the paper starts doing this settling thing, and it's like, what are you doing to me here? I'm just kind of touching this corner to kind of blend and make some tree stalks kind of sticking up there, and then just step back and let it bleed. I need to finish a little bit of something back here. But see how big these are larger and they get smaller as they go back, and then those trees, it makes it feel like it's going back in the distance because it gets smaller as it goes back. So it's bigger here and it gets progressively smaller to that area. into the distance. Then I'm gonna do some darker fir trees on the other side. Again, I'm gonna stick with a rather large brush just because I don't like the large brush. I was basically taught use the largest tool possible for as long as you can. It helps keep it loose and flowing and So I've mixed some yellow, some green, and some blue in here. So this should be where I want the base of these. Okay. So I'm just touching that thin edge of the brush. I'll curve some of these a little more. And you can see I do it pretty quickly, so it's good to kind of plan out where you're going to go. And this would be a good time to drop in some, while it's still quite wet, some darks in certain areas. I'm using my blue, my brown. It's really wet, and that's going to get a lot lighter. How wet is this still? Still damp, so I want to add some shadows back in this.
Embrace the wet.
Was that aquamarine blue or the cover?
You mean that I picked up right here?
Or was that a mix?
A mix, but I think mostly ultramarine. Ultramarine does, it's magical. It does everything. And I want a little more green. I don't like that. Okay. But I'm also noticing that this is not working well, so I'll pick up that a little bit before it gets too dry.
I'm fascinated with its eye.
Step back, blur, squint your eyes. Sometimes it works really, really well. Now the grass, I have to think ahead. I want the blue of those flowers to show through. And I want that red to pop. So even though the grass is not really light, I think I'm going to make it lighter than what I'm seeing.
So you can paint over it with the blue and the red.
So I can paint over it, yeah. So the thinner the paint, oh shoot. Was it somebody asked, was it this class that asked about contaminating your wells of water?
Don't drink the mineral.
Clean your brush often. Well, there was one of the videos, every time I went to use the brush, there was still color in it. I was like, gosh. So I'm going to do, I think, a light yellowish green for the flower, the grass behind the flowers. I'm using a touch of sap green, lemon yellow, and I'm letting it kind of bleed in with a little bit of that one. Yellow ochre. And I think I'll do some irregular spray, and I hope this might work. This, I will tell you right off the bat, would work so much better on a good paper.
What is the paper you're using now that is not good?
It's not as good. It's a Fabriano, I think.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's what I bought. I don't like it at all.
Now I'm still thinking that S curve, I'm going to have some of those flowers come through here. We've tried to be so price conscientious when people get started that it's almost detrimental. I apologize. So we will still, I'm doing more searching because I found these great pastels for good price that are I mean, they're not archival probably, but they're not bad at all. So now I'm looking for a watercolor that will be similar. And from your group, the consensus has kind of been tubes. And then you need a palette of some sort.
American Journey is nice, I found.
American Journey.
That's the store brand of Cheap Joe's.
What's that one?
So he's cheap. So it's cheaper than the Winston.
Really? I haven't heard of them.
Tube.
Yeah, I have a couple, I like them.
Yeah, and they always are on sale. There's always something on sale.
What is it?
American Journey. It's his store brand. So I have to get it from him.
Journey?
American Journey.
And it's the watercolor
Put a little
tubes?
X in the corner so you
Cheap
know.
Joe's?
Yes.
They
I
don't
wonder
feel
what it is.
This is kind of fun.
Masters.
Oh, yeah, look at that. That plate is working.
I want that to bleed down in more.
funky looking.
This needs a little more shadow because the light's kind of coming down from this area. I want to throw it, but I want to leave some for like grasses and stuff. And now I have to wait for it to dry.
What is this?
It's a burnt sienna. That is really, mine doesn't look anything like that at all. This
Yeah,
burnt
mine
sienna
is-
is
that one.
burnt sienna, yeah. It's almost like what they used to call Indian red.
Yeah.
I tell this class ages
She
ago,
had a lot
back
of yellow to the front.
at a certain time, they made, there was this deep reddish brown that they made out of mummies.
Out of mummies?
Yep. And they stopped making it, I think, in it's a lot closer than you think, like the 1920s or 30s, they stopped using
Well, who-
mummies for,
Whoever thought, I see a mummy there, I'm gonna make some paint.
you're always looking for things that'll create neat pigments, but a mummy? That's, to me, that's just wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I don't want this at all, but I
But they also used to use it for fuel for fires, for home fires and stuff, because with the resins and stuff it burnt so well.
Can you imagine?
No. I'm gonna stop this. I love, see how that's peeking through? That's really good. Remember your, like the holes peeking through?
yeah, I forgot the holes.
Well, evergreens still hate me. It's all right. But that one goes up all the way.
So even, I just added a little touch of green into that yellow. It's going to read as grass when we get the flowers in there. The yellow here. And the lighter areas are where I'm planning to put in some of the blue and red flowers. You don't have to have the exact color. That's why often, once I get going with a sketch or something, I get rid of the photo. We want, something in us wants to make it look like the photo.
I've seen some painters use a palette where they pick 3 colors to stand in for the primaries, and then just use those same 3 to mix whatever they need.
Sometimes it's nice to do a exercise to limit your colors. I'll do that with pastels. I have a whole process where, because that, here you're mixing color, but with pastels you have to choose individual sticks.
Well, their theory is that that brings a unity to
Yes.
the palette. That
Yes. And there's different approaches. You can use opposite colors, a complementary. You can do a split complement, like if you have this, and instead of using that color, use the ones that are off to the side. Analogous colors are all in a similar area on your palette.
Which
There's
is great for mountains.
many approaches, yes. Where was I today? Driving somewhere. And because of the haze, the mountain layers were so clear. and just sit there and try to, sometimes we used to take an index card and put a punch hole in the middle of it to isolate colors. So we could say, like if you were looking at 5 layers of mountains, trying to compare, how would you interpret that in paint?
Limits your field of vision, so you're not seeing everything all at one time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my Patreon group this time. They were like, we want to know how to find the sweet spot. And I'm like, how to explain to me the sweet spot. So how to start when you're standing plein air and everything's in front of you, or you've taken a photo that has everything that doesn't look that interesting. How do you pull out something that's going to make an interesting painting for you? That's our exercise this week. All right. This month.
Should we all gather around it and look?
If you would like to. I'm still thinking. Not great. Maybe more contrast in this one up front because this one is almost the same as that. But I'm going to start with the... I was going to start with the blue because there's more, but I want the red to be really... I want to design the red speckle. So I have a toothbrush. I know that was on your list. If you didn't have one, you can borrow mine after. Or I have, the stenciling brush. Some stiff brush. It's a stiff brush that works really well for this splatter technique. I always dampen the brush first and then dry it. It's not totally dry, so it's damp. And you're going to get your paint under your fingernail. There's no way around this. I'm going to start.
Badge of honor.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the brightest red and just work it into my brush a little bit.
So what red is that?
That's a cadmium red. Brilliant one, like medium or might be light, cadmium red light. See the direction of that. Got up into my sky. I don't want it in the sky. I'll block quickly.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
That's like psychedelic, isn't it?
That's more flowers than I'm seeing in the field.
It's a good thing.
The poppies are so pretty.
Yeah.
Don't look at the picture anymore.
Thank you.
So there's a field north of the Marshall exit, or the Weaverville off to the southwest. That's just magnificent. It's like purples and reds.
Is it similar to this one or something?
But much more red, much brighter.
Yes.
It's
More
stunning.
poppies.
Oh, wait, I think I saw it. It's almost all poppies. It doesn't have the
Yeah.
blue in there. I like the blue on this one because it's almost a split complement. Not a split, yeah, it's kind of a split complement. I'm going to add a little extra red with my round brush here, which should, and I should practice this somewhere first. See, there wasn't enough water in it and color basically to let go.
Tell us again why you're picking the red before the blue.
Because I'm using the red as to design. I want that more designed, where I'm going to have the blue kind of more overall the field. So I'm trying to follow a little bit of an S curve, and I'm not getting... See how that creates a different dribble than the other one? That's a lot of red. And then I'll go back to my... I'm going to start with some of this, I think it's a phthalo blue, because it's deep, very wet, too much water. I want more color. I want this to be pretty vivid.
Which blue?
Well, I started with a phthalo or cobalt, but now I'm mixing in some ultramarine too. By using a paper towel or another piece of paper, I can control better where these are going to go. So I'm just masking it a little bit. Get some a little lighter. I can talk and paint at the same time if you have a question. Yep. Now I'm seeing, I don't know if it's the paper or what's going on here, but it's not as beautiful as I wanted it to be. Okay, I have a
You
big,
can blame it on the paper.
okay, I'll do that. I don't like this glob. I'm gonna try to dampen and lift that while it's, taking a little more cerulean. What?
Oops.
See that one? Yep. There. Fixed. This often too, it's a great idea to take some paper. You're going to use this paper up if you don't even like it, because you can practice something new before using your good paper. Because now I see I'd need to make adjustments. I'm not really happy with the way this is. What would I do next time to make it work more like I wanted it to?
Do you know?
Nope. I think I'd be thinking about it. I'm not really sure. You can also take the very, very tip of your round brush if you want. Fairly dry because this paint is wet. Whoop. You could splay it maybe a little bit. Try to create some stalks. I'm just dragging the paint that's already on there. I'm not adding paint. There was no paint in this brush. I'll pick up a little. See how I'm just very lightly to indicate some of the stalks of the flowers.
You're being so creative.
I couldn't. You couldn't. You can't. It is. This is.
So that's something you can add in. You can also use your rigger brush, or what some people call the liner brush, for that. But it's, to me, it's not as natural looking sometimes.
It's so thin.
It's very regular, yeah. Where if I splay this, like
Yeah.
this one, becomes a little more interesting,
Right,
naturally
yes.
shaped. But that's. I mean, you saw this. It wasn't too bad. You know, the speckling approach and things that you could use that on.
Why not? It doesn't use enough anyway. So if your brush doesn't make big enough flowers for you, like when you splatter it, you need a thicker brush somehow. Like they're very tiny. They're very tiny.
Yeah, those are tiny, so maybe more paint,
More
because you're
paint.
very thin,
Right.
and it'll glob more. And you did with this by tapping the brush, or was this your toothbrush?
Toothbrush.
Yeah.
More, so they're not very round.
No, but that could kind of be 2 or 3 flowers together, and you can pull out some stems.
That's nice.
Yeah, which reminds me, then you can come in if you want to, in the foreground, and define some of these flowers that are already kind of naturally there. Just touch and pull them out a little bit more. Whoops. Because, you know, I want them a little larger in the foreground, so.
So what if I do this? Get up that.
That helps bring those up. This isn't working as I wanted it to.
What'd you think?
Awesome.
It's amazing.
Oftentimes to put birds, I'll use it, just my little sketch pen.
We're never open regular, but if you